In the last session, we have seen few basic setups which need to be completed within the payables to kickstart with the transaction process. And also we discussed what does it mean by distribution sets. So when we talk about distribution, invoice distribution, we can enter manual distribution or else we can create distribution set to distribute the invoice amount automatically based on the percentage for specific accounts, or else at least to default the accounts, we can use the distribution set without any percentage. If you create any distribution set with account and percentage, that we call as full distribution set. If you create any distribution set without percentage, just with accounts, that we call as skeleton distribution set. Let's see how to create the distribution set. By default, distribution set is not mandatory. We can create invoice by entering the manual distribution, or you may create invoice based on the PO or receipt. If you are creating invoice directly in the payables, you may enter manual distribution or you may use distribution set. Let's see. Go to our implementation project. Task list. Manage implementation projects. Overview. Just one sec. So here is our implementation project. Open. Search for distribution sets. The task name is Manage Distribution Sets. Click on the same. Click on Go to Task icon. So we create distribution set business unit level. For each BU, we have to create separate distribution sets. We cannot use the same distribution set for multiple business units. Click on Create. Select our business unit. Alt I and C, US business unit. So enter the distribution set name, say internet expense, and click on Add. The total amount, invoice total amount, 100% amount, system should allocate to internet expense account if we select this distribution set during the invoice creation. Select company, cost center, nothing but department. Select account. You may select specific cost center. Search for internet expense account. Select, provide default values. Say okay. So only one account. The total amount should hit to the same account, the total invoice amount. When you create invoice for internet expenses, we no need to, okay, when you create a invoice for internet expenses, we no need to provide any account. If you use this distribution set, automatically system will use this account and the total amount it will allocate to the same account. Say save and close. We'll create one more distribution set This you can call as a full distribution set because 100% we entered. And create one more distribution set. Say computers, click on add. So 95%, okay, should goes to which code combination you provide. Say okay. So if you use this distribution set for any invoice, on any invoice, if you use this distribution set, system will allocate 95% of invoice amount to this account. What about remaining 5%? You may have a multiple accounts for remaining 5%, or you may go with a single account. Say 3% for tax account or freight account. Select freight transportation charges. Say okay. Just click on add. Remaining 2% should be posted to tax account. Find out tax account. For our testing purpose, you can pick any one of the tax. Say domestic, your state taxes. Say okay. Without percentage, okay, without percentage, if you create the distribution set, then that we call as skeleton. Now we given here distribution percentage is 100, and we given 100%. If you want to create skeleton, here you make it 0. Let's create one. Say save and close. Create one more distribution set for the same BU. Say furniture. So we want to create a skeleton distribution set. We are not sure about the percentage, how much we have to post to which account. So take 0 and select account. Furniture. Say okay. You may add multiple accounts which are applicable when you purchase the furniture. So tax account. Say okay. We are going to add tax, another account, right also. Okay, if you click on search with the same account, what are the code combinations are available, you can see. Now three accounts, three different accounts. The furniture amount need to be posted across these three accounts, but we are not sure about percentage. Whenever you create invoice, if you select this distribution set, system will default these three accounts and we need to enter amount for each and every account. This we call as skeleton distribution set. Only accounts, no percentage. Okay, distribution percentage we are not giving. This we call as skeleton. Done. So this is how we can create the distribution sets as required. Fine. Next. So we have to create supplier. So before we create the supplier, we need to set supplier numbering. Okay. Say set supplier numbering. To set the supplier numbering, search for the task called as supplier numbering, or there is an exact task name called as specify supplier numbering. The task name is specify supplier numbering. Click on specify supplier numbering. Click on go to task icon. So the supplier numbering works at instance level. Okay, it is mapped at instance level. We cannot set separate numbering for suppliers belongs to our business unit or specific country. So whatever the number we set, it is applicable for all the suppliers which you create across this across the business. Like you may operate the business in multiple countries or in specific country. It is applicable for any supplier you create within this environment. Okay, don't change number. In the fresh instance, when you do the implementation for client, you talk to the client if they have specific number preference that you can set. If you don't set any numbering, system will start triggering the num from 1. You don't change any numbering, it will create issues because you may enter something 1000 with the with 1000 number supplier might be in the system. So it will throw error message if somebody is trying to create the supplier, it will try to pick the number as 1000, it will find duplication and it won't allow us to create the suppliers. So don't touch this number for your information purpose. I'm taking through these details. Okay, don't touch this, just make a note. Now, if you want to create the supplier in the application, we need access to supplier creation pages. To get supplier creation access, we need to assign one role to our user. The role name is supplier manager. Say assign supplier manager to user. Okay, assign supplier manager role to user. Say supplier manager role to user. And submit LDAP. Okay, LDAP job. Assign supplier manager role to user. Submit LDAP job. To assign the role to user, go to security console. Okay. So instead of switching from this project page to security console, better you can duplicate window. Add one more tab. Go to navigator, tools, security console. Select users and find our user. Click on username. Click on edit. Click on add role. Role name is supplier manager. Supplier manager. Select supplier manager. Okay, assign. Click on done. Save and close. For synchronization, submit LDAP job. Click on setup and maintenance. And here is the task. Run user and role synchronization process. Click on the same task and submit, so that what are the roles we assign to this user, those will get synchronized. When you assign application implementation consultant and IT security manager, we no need to run this program. Those roles can be synchronized because those are very, very standard roles. Of course, supplier manager also standard role, but doesn't sync immediately. It takes some time because it is related to procurement or say finance related. So it doesn't sync immediately. To force the synchronization, we are submitting LDAP job. So once the role is synchronized, we can go and create the supplier. Okay, we can go ahead and we can create the supplier. When we talk about supplier creation, okay, so when you talk about structure, supplier structure, first we'll have a supplier profile and supplier address, supplier site and assignments. Okay, create supplier profile and create supplier address and create site and assignments. Along with these assignments, so you may create the contact information also. Who is the contact person from supplier for our business? Okay. So if you want to talk to supplier, whom we have to contact, those details also we can provide, but not mandatory. The points what we discussed, these details are mandatory. Supplier profile, supplier address, supplier site, and site assignments. Profile means we provide the supplier name and what purpose we are going to use that supplier, and organization type, tax organization, we'll see in the system. Address, where supplier is located, and within the system, if you want to create purchase order or invoice, or if you want to process the payment to supplier, by selecting address, we cannot record these transactions. If you want to record any transaction with the supplier, for the address, we have to give one short name. The short name we call as site. To identify address with the short name, we give the site. For address, we give short name, that only we call as site. And any transaction you are going to record against any supplier. So instead of selecting address, we select only site. Okay, we select supplier and we select site. Site is mapped with a specific address. All the time, you no need to select the complete address. If you select the site, site is already connected with address. And site assignment, say you have one supplier and the supplier got one site. Now you have multiple business units. Which business unit is going to deal with that supplier? That we have to specify in the system. That sort of mapping we have to provide in the system. For that, the site need to be assigned to business unit. Okay, the site need to be assigned to business unit. One supplier site can be assigned to multiple business units. You don't need to create separate sites for each and every BU. So one supplier site can be assigned to BU, multiple BUs, so that all the BUs can record the invoices against the same supplier. Done. So we are ready with the supplier numbering and we assign the profile, we submitted synchronization. Now we can go ahead and we can create the supplier. If you want to create the supplier, so we can create supplier with our current user. Our current user is Alt INC. So Alt INC may means you can take like the at present the current profile of Alt INC is employee user. Or you can treat as Alt INC is, you can take example, Alt INC is the implementation user. The user may be implementation user or employee user. That user will be able to create only supplier profile and address. If you want to create the site and site assignments also, the user should be a procurement agent. User should be a procurement agent. Procurement agent is nothing but buyer. Only buyer can complete supplier definition. Supplier site creation, site assignment to specific business unit. These activities, these actions can be completed by only procurement agent or say buyer. Who can act as a procurement agent? Only employee user. If you have an implementation user, say you have a X who is your implementation user, and you have Y who is the employee user. Now you can convert Y as a procurement agent. You cannot convert X as a procurement agent. If you want to convert X as a procurement agent, first you have to convert X as an employee user, then employee user you can convert as a procurement agent. So it means if you want to create supplier from any user, that user should be a employee user plus procurement agent. Okay, then we will be able to create complete supplier definition, or else you can create supplier which is incomplete. Supplier profile and address. Supplier profile and address can be created by any user who is just only implementation user or only employee user. If employee user is converted as a procurement agent, yes, site and assignments also can be created. It means we have to understand, if you want to create supplier from any user, the user should be a employee user plus procurement agent. Our user is just employee user. Now we will create our user as a procurement agent for our business unit. Okay, we have to designate our employee user as a procurement agent for our business unit. From our business unit, that employee user can perform any kind of procurement activities. Along with that, we want to give the permission to the user to create the suppliers. Go to instance, go to our implementation project, click on overview, or directly you can click on implementation project. The page is not responding whenever you click. Yeah, that's okay. So search for procurement agent task. Procurement agent. Click on go to task icon. Here, click on create. Now we'll see how to create the procurement agent. Procurement agent is nothing but buyer. The Alt INC is going to act as a procurement agent for which business unit? Select that business unit. We have one and only business unit. Alt INC US business unit select. Means, so we want to make Alt INC as a procurement agent, buyer for this business unit only. Select agent. Agent is nothing but whom you want to designate as a procurement agent. Alt INC employee user. Only you can find employee user here. If you have a just implementation user, you cannot find here. Okay, only employee users you can find. So what this agent can do? Here is the big list. This agent can create requisitions, purchase orders, purchase agreements, and negotiations, sourcing programs. These are all related to sourcing application and catalog content, and can create suppliers also. Trust is all like you can specify, but we are here to set privilege for supplier creation. All are allowed. We no need to change, accept as it is. Now, if this agent is going to create the requisition. So which BU system has to default? Same BU you can select. So procurement BU is nothing but from which BU you are going to perform the procurement activities. Okay. So that BU you can treat as a procurement BU. Requisitioning BU means from which business unit you are going to create the requisitions. That BU you can call as requisitioning business unit. So you may select the default printer. The printer configuration should be done by Oracle. When you are working in the project, we can raise SR, service request to Oracle. When we are in the project, you get access to Oracle support website. Okay, Oracle website. Search for Oracle support. Okay, so go to Oracle support. You can just log into my Oracle support if you have a login credentials. So when we are working in the project, you will get login credentials. With those credentials, you can log into this portal, Oracle support portal. Here you have to raise on SR, service request to Oracle stating that. So they will ask, you can raise SR saying that we want to set up the printer configuration, the system. They'll respond and they'll ask for certain details and you will get from your client and you will provide. So that's how Oracle can help us to set up the printer in this instance, so that from this instance directly you can print the checks or any documents. It may be purchase orders or it may be receivable invoices or payables payments or anything else. You can print any document directly. You are connecting the printer to this environment, to this instance, to this server. So once that is done, that printer you can select accordingly. This agent will be able to print any documents with the help of the printer. Now here just select procurement BU and select our agent. Default requisition BU optional. If you want to select or else ignore. And access, everything is granted for everything, but we need manage suppliers as a enable. But accept everything what system is taking. Now say save and close. So we created our employee user as a procurement agent. Okay, now after creating procurement agent, we will be able to create the supplier complete definition. Okay, complete supplier definition you can do. Create procurement agent. When you create procurement agent, system won't recognize immediately as the user as a procurement agent, because already we connected to the instance. So what is the profile the instance can identify that user, it will stay connected with the same. Once you log out and log in, then it will identify our user is a procurement agent also. So once you create procurement agent, before you create the supplier, just sign out and sign in. Sign out and sign in, so that the system will recognize our user as a procurement agent. Sign in. Now, create supplier. To create the supplier, we assigned supplier manager role to our user. When you assign the supplier manager role to the user, you can find from the home page, if you go to navigator, within the navigator, you can see procurement section. Okay, or you can say procurement work area. Expand procurement. Under procurement, here is the task. Click on suppliers task. We are able to see procurement and suppliers task because we assign supplier manager role to this user. Only that is the reason. To create the supplier, click on task list. Now click on create supplier. Provide supplier name. For our easy identification, I'm going to use the name as Alt INC supplier 1. The reality suppliers are other organizations, other entities, but here for our testing purpose, just I'm taking prefix as Alt INC supplier 1. When you practice, you may use some other organization name. Business relationship. Select spend authorized. What does that mean by prospective? If you are creating any supplier to be used in the sourcing application for negotiations purpose, select relationship as a prospective. If you create supplier as prospective supplier, you cannot create purchase orders and invoices. If you want to create the purchase orders and invoices, you need to select relationship as spend authorized. Spend authorized means this supplier is authorized by our organization where we can go ahead and spend some expense. Means we can procure the goods or you can render the services, whatever it may be. Tax organization type, this supplier falls under which organization type that you select, depending on which, what category of the supplier, accordingly you can select, say corporation. Now click on create. Now based on these inputs, system is going to create supplier profile. System will create supplier profile based on the inputs whatever we provided. Okay, so just click on create. System will create the supplier profile. Just wait for a moment. Once profile is ready, against the profile we will create address. With the same address we are going to create the site. Nothing but we are going to tag some short name for the address, that is a site. And finally the site we will assign to business unit. That is nothing but assignments, site assignments. Okay, or else you can write it as a site assignments. Supplier profile is created. Okay, the supplier name is Alt INC supplier 1-1 I given, and it generated number. Okay, so we have seen separate task for number. By following the same, number is allocated for the supplier. Yes, we given tax organization type as a corporation, the same you can see here, and supplier type. So within this instance, somebody said supplier type as a mandatory. You can select any one of the type. By default, not mandatory. When you are working on practice instance, whatever the instance you are using for practice, within that you no need to select supplier number. Okay. Here, the supplier site is, the supplier type is set as a mandatory with a personalization. If you want to make this supplier inactive, if you don't want to record the transaction, you can give some end date, but we don't want to give it. And status is active. And how business relationship we selected as a spend authorized, and when supplier was created today. How supplier was created through manual process. We just created through manual process. If not manual process, we can load the suppliers. Going forward, we'll see how to load the supplier. For now, we just added supplier through manual process. Okay. And attachments, if any legal documents, related to the supplier, you can attach those legal documents here so that those you can use anytime for reference purpose. Now, supplier profile is ready. Go to addresses. Click on create to create the address for this supplier. We have only supplier name. Where supplier is located, the detailed information we have to provide. And again, for what purpose we are going to contact the supplier at this address. Okay. So those details also we have to specify. Okay, where supplier is located, what purpose we are going to keep in touch with the supplier in this address, those details we have to specify. You can write the address name. So Alt I and C address. I'm just providing random text. Okay. If when we are practicing, if you want to take the real data, you can use from the Google, any address you can use. So country, the supplier is belongs to, or supplier address is belongs to which country? Say United States. And if you want to provide the detailed information, provide address line 1, address line 2, but not mandatory. And provide postal code. We have seen manage geographies. As per manage geographies, so already the data is available. Okay, if you click on load geography data, that's how data can be populated within this instance. The same can be used for legal addresses and business unit and suppliers, customers, or any other purposes. Select postal code, rest system will default automatically. You can pick any one of the postal code or search for any specific postal code. So reality, we don't create the supplier. That is not our job. As a consultant, we don't create the suppliers, but we guide the business how to create the suppliers. We have to train them. We have to show them how to create the suppliers. Once we show them how to create the suppliers, they will start creating the suppliers in the system. Okay, supplier creation is not our job as a consultant. That is end user job. Okay, we should know first so that you can train the business. Okay, if you want to create the supplier, this is how you have to create. You should be able to help them. Select any one of the postal code. It will default rest of data as per the hierarchy. And what is the purpose we are going to keep in touch with this supplier in this address? That address purpose we have to specify. Ordering is nothing but purchasing. Say we want to purchase goods from this supplier address, then select ordering. And we want to create invoice and we want to make the payment in this address. Okay, we want to remit the payment to this address. We want to send the payment to this address. If you want to send the payment to this address, or if you want to create invoice against this address, select as a remit to. And procurement point of view, if you want to request for quotations, RFQ, or else if any contracts and all, if you want to just deal with the supplier for bidding purposes. Okay, if you want to invite the supplier for bidding, if you are looking for some services, you can enable RFQ or bidding. This is for purely procurement part. Okay, so to send the quotation, to request for the quotations, or else to invite the supplier for a bidding process and all. So, or if you want to collaborate with the supplier in the bidding process, you can enable the checkbox. Ideally, that is not required. Okay. We are going to work on financials. Typically, we don't need to enable this. So provide address details and set the address purpose as ordering and do remit to, and click on save and close. So we created address for supplier. You can create multiple addresses. Say you have one supplier. The supplier is operating the business in multiple cities, and you are going to procure from the same supplier from multiple cities. For multiple cities, what are the addresses we have to create? Now we have one address. Against this address, we are going to create the site. Go to sites. click on create icon. If you don't see this create icon as enabled, you have to understand your user is not a procurement agent. If you think your user is already procurement agent, you have to understand, you have to log out and log in so that system will allow you to create the site. Otherwise, you see this site create icon as grayed out like this pencil icon, edit icon. Okay. If it is active, enabled mode, you can create supply. If it is a disabled mode, you have to check multiple points. Your user may not be a employee user. Okay, your user is employee user, but your user may not be a procurement agent. Your user is already procurement agent. Then you have to log out and log in for the first time. So these are the points we should aware when we deal with the supplier site creation. Let's create the site. Just click on create. Now we are creating site means we are giving some short name for address only. Okay. So what is address? Select address. The same address, the system is defaulting as a site name. You make it short. You may just write the site name as INC, or you can give some city name. Okay. So provide any name, how you identify that address. Okay, how you call that supplier site as per your business, that name you can provide, or else you provide city name. Or in the same city, if supplier has multiple sites within the city, the landmark or whatever you can specify. And address level, whatever the information we given as a purpose, the same is defaulting. Okay, so it's a defaulting for purchasing, ordering is defaulting as purchasing, remit is defaulting as a pay. If you enable, okay, site purpose sourcing, already we have seen RFQ and bidding. If you enable there at address level, that will be defaulted here as a sourcing only. It's not only sourcing, okay. You can make it as sourcing only also, remaining you can remove so that this address can be used to contact the supplier only for sourcing purpose. Procurement cards means the organization can provide procurement cards. So if you are going to, if organization is going to say, take example Amex. If Amex is the supplier, so organization may provide Amex cards to their employees. When organization is going to pay Amex cards, okay, they have to pay behalf of the employees. Employees may use the Amex card to spend the expenses like credit card, and but organization will take the responsibility of making the payment to American Express. Okay, in that case, if your supplier is Amex or some other card provider, in those scenarios, you may select procurement card. And primary pay means if you have a multiple sites, one site you can select as a primary pay. If you have a 10 sites, one site you can make as a primary pay, so that whenever you select the supplier, automatically that site system will default. If you have only one site, even if you don't enable as a primary pay, the same site will be defaulted whenever you create the transaction with that supplier. Now, if you look at this section, all the tabs are disabled. Click on save. The tabs will get enabled. Provide required data here. Go to invoicing tab. For this supplier site, when you create invoice, which currency system has to take automatically during the invoice creation? That currency you can provide here. Even if you don't provide any currency here, no issues. System can derive the currency from invoice options. For our business unit level, invoice options we have seen. Within the invoice options, we have default invoice currency and payment currency. There we given USD. That currency it will take when you create invoice, okay, within that business unit. Say this supplier is belongs to different country, then you can provide that country currency so that whenever you create invoice with this supplier, whatever the currency you set here, the same currency will be defaulted. Okay. You may set, may not set, currency system will take from invoice options. So if currency is different for the supplier, you may set currency here. Okay. and go to payments tab. Under payments, how you are going to process the payment to the supplier. When you are going to remit the payment to the supplier, what is the method you are going to use? Are we going to pay through check? Are we going to pay EFT electronic? So what method you are going to use, that we have to select here. We will see how to create the payment methods going forward. For now, select check. Okay, check. These are the two different terms, American and British. Okay, you select whatever you want. Mark it as a default. Select check, click on default. System will mark this check as a default. It means whenever you create invoice with this supplier side, automatically system will pick the same payment method. If you want to change, you can change now or later. Here or at invoice creation time also. Okay, during the invoice creation, you will be able to override. You will be able to change. Now this site need to be assigned to business unit. Go to site assignments. You can click on auto create assignments so that this site will be assigned to our business unit. How system is picking only our business unit? The current user, Alt INC, is procurement agent only for this business unit. Okay, this Alt INC is acting as or registered as a procurement agent for how many BUs? Only those BUs system will display here. Okay, so this Alt INC is registered as a procurement agent for one business unit. So that is the reason you can assign this site to only that BU. If you want to assign the same site to one more BU, we have to create Alt INC as a procurement agent for that BU also, so that the same site can be assigned to another BU by this Alt INC procurement agent. This is the point we have to understand. And here just notice, we no need to do anything as of now. We have few accounts at site level. Okay, site we assign to BU. With the combination of site and do business unit, we have few accounts. Liability account, prepayment accounts, bills payable account. These are the three accounts we have at supplier side. Simply you can say supplier site level, you have a liability account, prepayment account, and bills payable account. Three accounts we have. Why we have here, how it works, we'll discuss when you create invoice, but notice this point. Hope you are taking every point what we are discussing. Very, very important. Okay, supplier site level, we have liability, prepayment, and bills payable accounts. And all are optional, you can see here. The same accounts we have seen in the common options. In common options, we have seen liability account, prepayment account, and bills payable. Liability and prepayments accounts are mandatory in the common options. Bills payable account is optional in the common options. But here, three are optional. Just notice, okay, we will talk about the story later. And when you create invoice with this supplier site, okay, when you create invoice with this supplier site, if you want to use specific distribution set, whenever you create invoice with the supplier site, if you want system to take specific distribution set, that you can select here. So whatever the distribution set you select here, the same distribution set system will pick. It will default whenever you create invoice. I'm selecting immediate distribution set. When we create invoice with this supplier side, automatically system will pick this distribution set from supplier side. And go to invoicing tab. If you scroll little down, here you can see payment terms. When you create invoice with this supplier side, if you want system to pick specific payment terms, you can select. What are the payment terms you select here? That payment term only system will pick at the time of invoice creation. So you can override, you can change the payment terms. So save and close. So this is how we can create supplier, supplier address, supplier site, and site assignments. Okay, site assignments. Along with that, we provided data within invoicing and payment tabs also. So this is how we create the supplier, and we will create multiple suppliers with the different purposes. Also, we'll see how to load the suppliers through spreadsheets as a part of implementation. In every implementation as a functional consultant, we have to load the suppliers data. Okay, before moving to Fusion, what are the system client is using? Within that system, what are the suppliers data they have? We get the data from the client and we have to load all the suppliers in the uh, fresh instances. Initially, we test in the test. Finally, we load into production instance. So that activity need to be carried out by functional consultant. So we will see that. Okay, for now, we are trying to understand how to create the supplier through manual process. We'll create few more suppliers through manual process to understand different use cases, business scenarios. Now click on save and close. So if you want to find out the same supplier, go to task list, click on manage suppliers, find supplier from here. Alt IMC, search. Okay, search. Now, if you want to do any changes, if you want to do any amendments for this supplier, you select this record, click on edit. Now, supplier record is open. We are at profile, you can go to sites. If you want to do any changes, click on edit or go to sites. Or you can click on edit, you can see the site assignments. You can assign the same site to any other business unit if required. Okay. So this is all about supplier story as of now. Still, there is something else which we have to understand. We'll discuss whenever it is required based on the business scenario. Any questions on supplier definition or what are the points we discussed so far? Okay, we have seen distribution set, supplier numbering, role assignment, LDAP submission. We created procurement agent and we created supplier definition. Supplier definition means profile, address, site and site assignments. So any questions here, please?
Yeah, can we say the client BU and the ship to location both are same or anything else?
Can you come again?
No, client BU we are finding this, along with the BU. So what
Yeah.
I'm saying, client BU is nothing but ship to location.
No. Let me talk about it. Yeah. So here, if you go to sites and say, I thought of discussing, I think I forgot. I'm sorry for that. Site assignments. You have a client BU and a bill to BU. By ideally, both are same. Okay, typically both are same. It means client BU means which BU is going to raise the requisition. In the P2P cycle, if you remember, we raise the requisition, okay, purchase requisition, and there will be sourcing process. Finally, we place the purchase order. So client BU means which BU is going to create the requisition. Procurement BU means which business unit is going to create the purchase order. And bill to BU means against which BU you are going to create invoice and you are going to make the payment. Okay. Requisition BU, procurement BU, invoicing BU and payment. Invoicing and payment. So typically both are three are same. There is a concept called as centralized procurement. Okay, that is a part of procurement. So as per centralized procurement, one BU may procure, other BU may pay, or one BU may raise the requisition, another BU may procure, different BU or same BU may make the payment to suppliers. Okay, those scenarios to support such kind of centralized procurement and other centralized processes. So Oracle is giving these three different controls. Okay, typically three are same. Okay, if you implement such kind of business scenarios from procurement side, these can be different. I'm sorry, it's a very key point. I just while I was explaining, I thought of discussing, but I just forgot.
Okay, correct. Thanks.
Yeah.
Now, what about contact, Lakshmi? Supplier
What about?
contact.
Yeah, you can create. It's optional. If you want to create, simple. Just you have to add the contact person from supplier. Go to contacts.
Okay.
Just click on add. So from supplier side, there will be one contact person, right? Say you received one invoice, but invoice amount is wrong. Now, whom to call? There should be contact from a supplier organization. There you can provide the detail, first name, last name, and contact address. Ideally, supplier address and contact number and all you can provide, email ID. Yeah,
Got it.
it's
And
optional.
when,
Yeah.
yeah, and I seen that one more option that primary pay site, right? Primary pay
I
site.
discussed, I explained.
Yeah,
You have
you
multiple
discussed.
sites. One
Yes,
second.
I know. Oh, you discussed, but it's different from R12, right? R12, we don't have this option, right?
You have R12 also, if you notice.
Okay,
You have.
okay,
In
okay, got
EBS
it.
11i you have, in EBS R12 also you have.
Okay, thank you, got it.
Yeah, fine.
Can you explain once
Can you
again the
please-
spend authorized?
There you see as a primary. The naming convention they given checkbox as just primary.
Mhm.
Yeah. Fine. Yeah, please go ahead.
Can you
Sir,
explain
what
once
is
again the
sourcing
spend
only?
history?
Sorry.
Sir, what is sourcing only? Like that particular option?
Sourcing only means you have one entity, one organization. So who contacted you or you contacted that organization to procure something? You are in the negotiation process. Okay. You are in the negotiation process with the supplier. You are talking with the supplier, you send quotation and you are discussing these are the terms. We pay every 6 months once and we need 60 days credit period, whatever it may be. And you are expecting discount. You are doing all these with that organization. But you create in the system as a supplier, but not finalized, not authorized. So during this period, that supplier you can treat as prospective supplier. In that case, you are going to use that supplier only for sourcing. Later, once you approve that supplier, if everything is okay, you can start purchasing. Okay. If you sell
Okay.
enable only sourcing, the supplier will be using only in the sourcing purpose. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Or else along with this, you can use sourcing only also you can set, but that doesn't make any sense. Generally, if these all are disabled, you can set sourcing only. Means you can use only sourcing, or else along with this, you can use for sourcing also. Ideally, they're given only, but it sourcing, they can say like, so when we are going to use only sourcing, ideally that you can do like if it is a kind of you are in the negotiation process. It's a pure procurement function. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Done.
Uh,
Any other questions here, please?
last
And in
question.
business relationship, you assigned the spend authorized. Can you explain once again the list of values, whatever there?
Very simple. Spend authorized with which supplier you want to create the purchase orders and invoices. That supplier you have to create as a spend authorized. Spend authorized. The supplier is authorized to spend. Okay.
So there is
Lakshmi,
no specific option for ship to location in that case, is that right? Or if you and you only we can consider ship to.
Can you repeat?
Sorry. What I'm saying is there won't be any specific ship to location.
Yes, you can specify completely optional information. If you go to site level, you can tell to that supplier, okay, hey, just send material to so and so location and send bill to so and so location. These are the locations. Ship to location and to bill to location.
Fine.
Yeah. So we are going to inform to the supplier, ship to and bill to our location, our business. We are informing to our supplier. Why we are entering in our system? We should know, right? What location, okay, this supplier is going to ship or where supplier is going to send the invoice. Bill to location means our office address where supplier has to office address or any our address where supplier has to send the bill. Ship to location means where supplier should ship the material. Ideally, it would be our warehouse location. Yeah. Okay, you can select the same, whatever we
Lakshmi,
created. Alt INC dollars we created for our BU, right? Yeah, that you can select if you want to select. Done. Any other questions?
Lakshmi, supplier set numbering. Can we set alphanumeric or only always numeric?
No. It system generates. Supplier number or
Okay.
any number, system generated.
We don't have any option to put it like
No.
manual or
No. Ideally, there is no need also. Okay, just we are going to maintain the supplier, how you want to see the supplier name. You can go with accordingly, but numbering for uniqueness, numbering is required. You always we deal with the name only, right? Yeah, that is not there. Any other questions, please?
But when you load the bulk data, we have our own supplier numbering in the existing system, right? So how it will differ this one?
Loading will support. Loading time you can enter.
Okay. Okay.
No. Supplier numbering you are talking. Customer you can enter. Customer you have to enter. Supplier no. Supplier, what happens is you don't enter anything here. Whatever the numbering you have, the same system will follow.
Okay, suppose I have a client supplier numbering with alphanumeric, same can maintain in the Excel sheet and I can load it, right?
You cannot bring it.
Oh.
In EBS, that is possible. You have a manual numbering, right?
Yeah,
Here they removed. Okay.
okay.
So here you have to maintain. Some client may ask you, hey, just what about my historical, legacy number? In that case, you
That,
may just add some DFF and you can capture. Apart from that, we don't have any option.
okay, that, okay, got it.
But this would be like in the system and our vision environment, it would be whatever system generate, you cannot change.
Lakshman, to create a supplier, we need a procurement agent, right? So can we assign single user to multiple BUs as a
Yes,
procurement agent?
assignment not. We can create one employee user as a procurement agent for multiple BUs. Yes, possible.
Okay, right now we did one-to-one, right? How we can add multiple BUs to
Same,
that
go
agent?
there and add one more.
Okay,
Go to procurement agent, click on add, select which BU means another BU, select the same employee user. Same process. We did
okay,
for one, you do
individual.
for rest.
Okay, individually we have to do. We cannot assign like how supplier site level we can select multiple BUs. Can't we do that way?
No, you cannot. In EBS, it's a different story, right?
Mm.
You create site, then all the, for how many OUs we have access, it will be listed, right?
Yeah.
You can do the checking. You can enable, that's how it works. Here, control, they brought control over the assignments. Yeah, this is the process we have to follow here.
So if I have a 10 BUs single user, I need to create 10 procurement agents.
Yeah, good point. So manual, if you are doing, yes, you have to do it. If your loading system won't validate this, loading will support. If you are
Okay.
loading the suppliers, system is not going to look at who is loading, do they have a permission or not. If you are doing through manual process, yes, you have to do it, whatever you said. Okay,
Okay.
yep. So any other questions?
In supplier creation, we have selected spend and prospective, right? Like
Correct.
two options we had.
Yes,
If you select as a prospective supplier initially while creating a supplier, can we change it to spend authorized?
yes, you can change, but you can create up to address only.
Okay.
Yeah, you cannot complete the entire supplier definition. Means you have some prospect whom you not confirmed, just you are in touch, right? You are
Yeah.
negotiating. What you need, just address only. Yeah, you can convert. Okay, you can convert. For that we have approvals also.
And okay, can we send for approval when we create a supplier?
Yes,
Like
we can. We have approvals also for suppliers.
okay.
Yep. Fine. So when we deal with approvals, we'll see that. Okay. Deal with approvals, I'll just walk through. We'll work on approvals for invoices, requisitions, purchase order, journals. Okay, so that you can understand. Any other questions about these setups?
Without supplier manager, we cannot create supplier, right?
Yes,
Without that role.
correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? No, great. Now let's move on to bank account.
Not to this, like previously, I have one question. When we
That we'll
create,
see in the end of the session. Okay.
sure.
Yeah, please don't mind, just because bringing something in between may not make sense. Yeah. Another session, any point we can discuss. So now we are going to create bank account. So with these setups, whatever we completed so far, with these setups, we'll be able to create invoice successfully in the payables. If you want to make the payment, we need bank account. We need bank account. So if you want to create the bank account, first we have to create the bank, then we have to create the branch. Finally, we can create the account. And when you create the bank account, for the bank account level will maintain the documents, nothing but checks. When you open the bank account with the bank, we get the checks, checkbook, check leaves. So those we have to record in the system also. What are the checks we have, the numbering and all. And every bank account need to be assigned to BU. Say we have a one bank account and we have 10 business units. You have to specify the one bank account can be used by 10 BUs or specific BU. We have to do the mapping between bank account and business unit. So one bank account can be assigned to multiple BUs, but there is a condition. We'll see that. Okay. So now we are going to create bank, branch, bank account, documents, and finally we are going to assign the bank account to business unit. Fine. Click on save and close. Done. Go to our implementation project, or directly from search page, or from here also you can perform those tasks. Manage banks, manage bank branches, manage bank account. These are the three different tasks we use to create the bank account. Click on manage banks and click on create. Select bank belongs to which country. They want to register this bank with the US, our system. So bank name is, you can take maybe JP Morgan or HSBC. I'm taking here everything with Alt INC bank. You may provide the rest of details if required, and address, contact, or bank, but not mandatory. Say save and close. Now against this bank, we have to create the branch. Here is our bank name, Alt INC bank. Select and click on create branch. If you don't want to create from here, we have a separate task also, right? We have seen. You can select bank and create branch and provide branch name, Alt INC branch. You may give some city name, etc. Fine. And you may provide the routing number. It is a US bank. For every branch, routing number is required, and provide the valid routing number, so that you can reality you get from the client, and when you are testing, you can pick any one of the valid routing number. System has validation. So Bank of America dollars routing number. Routing number like IFSC code. Fine. Now you can provide address and the contact details or any other details if required. Then say save and close. And against this branch, we are going to create account. Click on done. And here is the separate task called as bank accounts. Click on bank accounts and click on create. The bank account we are going to create against which branch. Select branch name. Branch is already mapped with a bank. Account name. Alt I and C. Corporate account. We get all the bank account details from the client. The same you can create. And account number. For our testing, I'm giving some number. And the bank account we are going to operate in which currency? Select that currency. And who is the owner for bank account? Who is the owner for bank account? Anyone, please?
Legal
Who's the
entity.
owner? How legal entity is the owner?
Supplier.
Legal entity.
Company.
Legal entity.
Supplier.
Company. Okay, company is the correct point. Of course, what you said, that is also same. But company, who's the owner? Company is the owner. How you are representing the company, how you are identifying the company with the registration. The registration we are calling in the system as legal entity. That means legal entity is the owner. Nothing but company is the owner in the sense here legal entity is the owner. So the bank account owner is legal entity. Here we have to select legal entity. If somebody is from EBS background, then notice. So in EBS, you cannot select legal entity as a owner for the bank account directly. In the Fusion, there is no control. Directly you can select. In case of EBS, you have to go to user management and you have to give you have to run the security wizard and you have to give the permissions to manage, transfer, use privileges. But in the Fusion, straightforward. Every legal entity can act as a owners for the respective bank accounts. So directly select our legal entity. Bank account owner is legal entity.
Sir, one thing. This bank account is of supplier, right?
Our bank account. It's not supplier bank account.
No, it's an internal bank account, right, Lakshman?
Yes, yes.
Ah.
Our means
Okay.
internal. Yes, our company bank account internal. Yep. It's not supplier customer. If it is supplier and customer, we create that record level only. Yeah. This is internal bank account. Our bank account, which we are going to use to process the payments.
Okay.
Now this bank account, we want to use in which applications? Okay, this bank account we want to use in which applications? Select here. Yeah. So payables and receivables also we want to use. Payables to make the payment, to receivables. In payables, we use this bank account to pay from this account. In receivables, we use this bank account to receive the payments from customer into this account. Okay, to pay and to receive. So if you want to use the same bank account for payroll, yes, you can enable it so that this bank account will be visible in the payroll application. Okay. Some companies, they use same bank account for payrolls also. Many companies, they use different bank accounts for their payroll process. And here we are selecting payables and receivables. Some companies, they use separate bank accounts for payables and receivables. Few organizations, they use same bank account for payables and receivables. It depends how client is required. You have to enable it. You have to talk to the client. The bank account, the intent is what? Okay. So they want to use only for payables or only receivables or payables and receivables or both are these three, whatever you call. So this is how we have to specify. System is deriving these accounts from the rapid implementation. The rapid implementation. So the cash account, there is extended tagging as a cash. How system derived retained earnings account, how system derived liability account and prepayment account, discount taken accounts in the common option, same logic. So within the rapid implementation spreadsheet, the extended tagging is available based on that system is deriving these accounts. We'll understand when you create transaction, system will use these accounts for accounting entries. There we discuss. So from where it is going to take and why these accounts are here. Now,
Lakshman,
yeah.
if you do multiple legal entities creation through rapid implementation, these we need to enter manually, right? GL accounts.
Not legal entity, take simple point, BU, one BU.
Yeah.
So you don't
Okay.
need to count the rest of things, only BU. One BU means system will default. More than one BU, system won't create this, you have to select. Even if you have one also, that may be right or wrong, right?
Yeah, we need to check.
You have 4 BUs, you are creating only one BU. System is taking balance and segment value as 1000. For the BU, what you are creating, it may be 2000 or 3000. You have to override. Okay.
Okay.
I suggested only for practice purpose. Reality, when you create how many BUs you have for your client.
Okay.
Yeah. So now scroll little down. Here is the payment section. Okay. Here we have to create the payment document. When you practice also, use different browsers. When you click on that payment documents, it will keep scrolling without our control. Okay. So better you move to Mozilla browser only for this Firefox. Bank account creation always do from the Mozilla browser. It may be your client instance also. Most of the instances, the same experience we get. Go to bank accounts. Already we have bank and branch. We need to create account. Bank accounts. Click on create. Alt INC. Corporate account. Currency is USD. Sorry. Select legal entity. Payables, receivables. Account type selection is not mandatory. You can ignore. There is no functionality behind it. Scroll little down. Click on payment documents. So provide how just what is the document like check. You can give directly check or you can give the name as for our document identification. Alt INC check. So for organization, the bank can provide blank stock. That means just they'll provide the stationery. Whatever the stationery, whatever the paper they use for checks purpose, the separate special stationery, they'll provide everything we print from the system with the help of our technical consultant. So what information need to be printed on the check that we get ready with this format. We'll discuss that. I'll deal as a separate topic I mentioned in the payables concepts. So with the help of format, you can print the checks. So what stationery your client got from the client that you can select here. If they got like stationery with pre-printed check numbers, select as a number stock or else select blank stock. Blank stock means empty stock, empty papers we get from the bank with the check leaves, whatever the stationery we use, everything will print from the system. If banker is providing the checks with the check numbers, you select it. Accordingly, we'll plan to print the data on the check. Say number stock and format. Ideally, this format need to be created and for format, how the data need to be formatted to print through check. Okay, print through printer on the check. This need to be aligned by technical consultant. I'll take you through. For now, you select standard one, which Oracle is providing. Okay, Oracle is providing the format called as standard check format. So within this format, there will be template for data alignment. Okay, data alignment. So 1 second. You can search for any. Sorry, Dallas check how come. Fine. So this is the check. Now the accountant will insert this check in the printer. The information should come from our payables and need to be printed on the check. So the alignments should be done by technical consultant. Okay, within this format. So within this format, there will be template which will match exactly to this alignment. So pay to pay to the order of. Here they'll take the space, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 line space in the sixth line. Okay. So pay to this how many characters? Maybe 7 characters need to be left blank. Here supplier name should be printed and date need to be printed in the maybe 1 to 3rd row and right alignment, and amount need to be printed exactly in this box, and that amount, okay, it has to be transformed in the words. If check number need to be printed, okay, the check number here that need to be printed, and account number need to be printed. If it is a blank stock, account number need to be printed. These are all alignments exactly to print on this. Otherwise, whatever Oracle is providing the standard check format, if you use and if you print, if you insert the check in the printer, as per this, the pay to may print here instead of starting here. The date may print here. The amount instead of in the box, it may print here. The in dollars inwards, it may print here. So alignment should match. For that, technical consultant should modify the templates what Oracle is providing. And as a functional consultant, what we do is we take one cancelled or void check from the client. Okay, we take one physical check. We'll hand over it to technical consultant. They'll take literally measurements, height, width, after how many characters, after how many characters space, supplier name need to be printed. This is all they'll take. And once the alignments are done, okay, the template is ready. We create the format. I'll take you through how to create the format. We create the format. That format we select here. If the bank is Bank of America, the Bank of America format only we have to attach here. Okay, we'll see that. We'll see that. For now, we are taking the standard check format which Oracle is providing. Later, we'll see if once template is customized, modified by technical consultant, how to create format, how that can be mapped, we will discuss. So for check printing purpose, format is required. Okay, to print the payment information from system to the printer, the check leaf, everything should match. The alignment need to be done. That is possible through the format. Inside of the format, there will be template. Okay. So XML template would be there. We'll discuss those. I'll take you through the template also, but not now. Later, I just included that as one of the topic. And you can provide the check numbers. So this information will get from the client. How many check leaves they got, all you can provide. So then say, okay, this is how you have to provide the document information for this bank account. Now this bank account cannot be accessed by any business unit. Okay, you have to give the permissions. Okay, we need to give the permissions. So to assign this bank account to specific business unit, go to business unit access. Go to business unit access and click on create. So assign this bank account to specific BU. Here you can see all the BUs, which BUs are under same legal entity. As per our enterprise structure, what we have under legal entity?
One or more business units.
Yes, under legal entity, we can have a BUs. Under BUs, we can have inventory organizations. That's what we discussed. So whatever the bank account we are creating, for that bank account, one LE acts as a owner. Under that legal entity, how many business units you have? To all the business units, you can assign that bank account if required, or else that is a possibility we can understand. I'm assigning the bank account to only this BU and say, okay. Now, how many BUs you can assign this bank account? How many BUs are under this legal entity? To those all the BUs you can assign this bank account. Just try to understand. Scope is legal entity. So I have a one bank account, I have 100 BUs. Can we assign the same bank account to 100 BUs? Yes. If 100 BUs are under same legal entity. The bank account is owned by which BU under the same legal entity. If you have 100 BUs, yes, you can assign. The same point, I have 100 BUs. I have only one bank account. Can we assign that bank account to 100 BUs? No. How many BUs are under that bank under that legal entity? Only to those legal entities. Say under whatever the bank account you have, for that bank account should be owned by specific legal entity. Say under that legal entity you have only 2 BUs. That means the bank account can be assigned to those 2 BUs only. So this is the point we have to understand. Okay, here say save and close, our bank account is ready. And again, we will revisit this bank account multiple times with the different reasons when we just go through different use cases, different business cases. We'll come back and we'll revisit and we'll do some enabling checkboxes and changing the data. We'll understand. So for now, this is the point you have to understand. Typically, this is how we have to create the bank account definition. We created bank, we created branch account, documents we created nothing but checks. And we assigned our bank account to business unit, and the bank account owner is legal entity. Somebody is from EBS background, that's straightforward. You can assign the bank account to BUs. In EBS, if you want to assign bank account to OU, you have to provide the grants, but not required here. Done. Now, by using this bank account, if you want to process the payments, for any invoice, we need to create payment process profile. We need to create payment process profile. So you look at this task name. Okay, we are going to create the profile to process payments. Okay, to process payments, we are going to create the profile. In the profile, we'll set certain rules. That's all. When we are processing the payment, these rules are applicable. That's all. Payment process profile means when you process the payments, which profile is applicable, means which rules are applicable. Very simple. Whenever you process the payment process profile is mandatory. That means by following certain rules or conditions, we process the payments. So this we'll see tomorrow. It may be late for a few guys, right? So tomorrow session, we'll complete the payment process profile creation, and rest of tasks are very simple. We have to assign AP roles to user. We have seen like how to assign the GL roles to user. The same way we have to assign AP serial roles. Okay. What are the predefined roles we have? Oracle delivered roles we need to assign to user, and we have to assign our business unit to AP user roles. Or simply you can say AP roles, which are aligned with the user already. Anything you can say. So assign BU to AP roles, and finally, after assigning these roles, submit LDAP job. Once synchronization is complete, open AP periods. Now we are good to go to create invoices. So these are the basic setups. Okay, these are the minimal setups which we have to complete. Which you have to keep AP application ready to record the transaction. Okay, these are the minimal setups, or say basic setups. So we have to complete so that we can start with the payments. So these tasks setups are due. We'll see in the tomorrow session, and tomorrow session we'll just create invoice and we'll process the payment. Okay, we'll see, like it depends the time, like the discussions which we establish based on the task which we perform in the system. So we're done for today. If you have any questions, please stay back. We will discuss. It could be questions based on today's session or from the previous classes, or it may be related to your practice or anything else.